Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome everybody this morning on this most auspicious day. Just as a reminder, if you are not cottoned on, especially those who are trying to practice seriously Krishna consciousness, particularly those who are initiated and aspiring, please remember today is a fast day. That doesn't mean the day will go very quickly. It may do. It's a fast day. But it means we're not eating anything. Is that what it means? Is that what it means? You can drink water, no problem. But we're not, is that right? We're not eating anything until when? Midday. Until midday, which is really 1 o'clock plus. So you can choose how much you want to accept or not, but this is how we make advancement. Even Bhaktivinoda sings in Madhavati Bhakti Janani. These days, these holy days are like mothers of devotion for those who observe them. They nurture our devotional creepers. Sometimes we have to use our common sense, but as much as possible we should take advantage of these very special days, especially on the days of the appearances and disappearances of the great acharyas in our devotional line. It's highly recommended. It's one of the most effective means of transformation, purification, awakening our attraction towards Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself in one of his many compilations called Bhakti Aloka, that by hearing about, remembering these great devotees, one can develop great courage, determination, and one feels great satisfaction. And why? Because Krishna is more pleased. He's very pleased when we glorify him. But he's even more pleased. Prabhupada would use the example of you please a man by pleasing his dog. In the Western world, of course, that is a very common situation. Maybe not so common in India, although it's becoming popular amongst the higher class of society. In the Western world, it's quite a common scenario. The man has his dog, or the woman has her dog, and you please them by pleasing the dog. If you kick the dog over the wall, I love you, but I don't like your dog, boom, you would definitely not satisfy them. Absolutely opposite. So we serve Krishna, or please Krishna by pleasing Krishna. The spiritual master is not a dog. But you get the idea. He feels himself like a dog. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays to become the dog in a house of devotee. He just wants to be in the association of devotees. And praising the devotees, serving the devotees, encouraging the devotees some way or another. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's that Sudha Bhakta Bhajana Renu, that the dust of the devotees, the remnants of the devotees, prasadam, Lord Chaitanya says, the water that has washed their lotus feet. These are my 3 kinds of foodstuffs. These are very important items. How we interpret it is another subject, but they are very important items if we want to please Krishna, to serve the devotees. They're more dear to Krishna than his very self, as he said to Durvasa Muni. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is exceptional, and we'll hear something from Prabhupada. I'll just read one verse for the sake of it, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, for the sake of it, but very important verses. This was spoken by Lord Kapila Dev to Mother Devahuti. As I say, I did not select the verse, but if you want to look at it, we're not going to repeat it together, maybe once. That's all. It's the 3rd canto, chapter 25, text number 20. Prasangam ajaram pasham Atmana kavayo viduhu Saeva sadusho krito Mokshadwaram pavitam. You might get an idea what this verse is referring to. I don't know. Sangam, you know this word? Sangha? Huh? Association. And some other words. Sadhu. What does that mean? Sadhu. What does it mean, Vishnu? Sadhu.
Yes, sadhu is the one who's the saint.
Yeah, like that, more or less correct. Saintly person, huh? A good, an advanced devotee. I mean, any devotee can be called sadhu, but really a sadhu is one who is fixed in the devotional service. Very advanced devotee, really. Sadhu. Moksha. You heard the word moksha? What's moksha? Liberation. Dwaram. Have you heard that word?
Door.
Huh?
Means door.
Door, yeah, door. Gateway, door. And there are many other words that you may. Atma, you probably heard that word before. There are many words there. In this case, the word prasangam refers a little differently. It's association, but it's broader understanding. It means attachment. Becoming attached. By association, you read in the Bhagavad Gita, you hear from Krishna, by contemplating the objects of the senses, one becomes attached. In other words, by associating with the objects, you become attached to them. Huh? So this verse is all about attachment. Ajram means very strong. Pashum, pashu, animal, but in this case, pashum, becoming very entangled, bound up. The soul becomes very bound up. Kavi, what is a kavi? Poet, learned man. Kavaya, learned man. Vidhu, vidi, what's vidi? Vidhu, what's vidhu? Vidhu.
Opulence.
Pardon?
Opulence.
Could be, it's one of the opulences, but it's not directly.
Knowledge.
To know, knowing. Sadhu, you've already mentioned to the devotees. Krit, they have Krit.
Comply.
Related. When you apply something, applying it, action, putting into action. Good. Mokshadwaram, that you already mentioned, isn't it? What does that mean? Mokshadwaram. Doors to the gates or doors for liberation. Exactly. Apavritam. Opened. That which opens. So that you can guess what this verse is referring to.
Yeah.
By associating with the objects of the senses is the way to open up the gate for liberation. Is that right?
No.
No? Oh, I thought that's what the verse was saying. By associating with materialistic people? What? Well, you sound like one of those people on the streets there. What do they call them? BACs. You're going to hell! What does it mean? You know what it means. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. Liberation doesn't just mean Brahman realization. It can refer to every level of, say, self-realization. So take it whatever way it is, but the principle is the same for all. We're not going to read the purport. It's a very significant purport. I just wanted to read a verse for the sake of it. But we're going to go on now to discuss a little bit about the event of the day, for Vaishnavas, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Not all Vaishnavas, practically speaking, other than the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, nobody is recognizing this day. Is that right? I mean, South India, the Sri Vaishnavas, they don't recognize this day. The Madhvas, Nimbarkas, Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, whatever Sampradaya it is, they don't recognize this day as at all. They're not even aware of it. But I'd like to read. There's so much can be said on a day like this. We'll start with pranams to Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Please repeat. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda, who is the transcendental energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is a strict follower of the Goswamis headed by Srila Rupa. And that's the pranams which we normally chant. There are more, but that's the standard one. We see here how he's described in this pranam as the transcendental energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His worshipable deity is Gaur-Gadadhar. We don't generally worship Gaur-Gadadhar in ISKCON. These forms of the Lord and his internal potency are worshipped by a certain line or sometimes apasampadaya. Just because one's worshipping doesn't mean you're apasampadaya, but it's particularly referring to Lord Chaitanya as the enjoyer. The devotees don't worship in that sense, as being the enjoyer of the rasa and so on. He's in the mood of service. So then one of those offshoots. But he himself, being his eternal position, we know him in his sadhaka or his manifested form, at least in terms of hearing about it, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but in Krishna Lila, of course, he has a different form and not a different role exactly, but a different pastime is going on there in the spiritual realm. What is his role? Kamala Manjari. He himself declares this. He explains his eternal relationship, and specifically his assistant to Rupa Goswami and Ananga Manjari also, but in the line of Lalita Devi. They're all working together to bring pleasure to Krishna. That's their purpose of existence, to bring pleasure, to assist Radharani in bringing pleasure to Krishna. So he's a part of that transcendental energy, Manjari Bhav, to bring pleasure to the divine couple. Strict follower of the six Goswamis headed by Sri Rupa. We sang this song just now, Radha Madhava. And you see that in many of his songs he compiled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. I don't know how many, but there are books and books of his songs. You've seen some of them. What song books did he write? Sharanagati. Any other?
The one that said Bhakti Aloka? No, it's not.
Book in itself.
Oh, okay.
Kalyana Kalpataru. What are the other two? There's two more. I get them mixed up with Narottam sometimes. Is Gitabali one of Bhaktivinoda's books?
Yes.
Gitabali Bhakti. And there's one more which is not so common. I've forgotten the name of it. There's series of songs, names of songs. And they contain maybe 50 to 100 songs in each book. So he especially had this inspiration to present the three, Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana, through the presentation of songs, taking us through the stages to the ultimate goal, pure love of God. So his objective, Jai Radha Madhava, in many of his songs you'll see Radha Madhava I mentioned. He was worshipping also Radha Madhava. That's his worshipful. They're still being worshipped today. Sometimes they used to appear on the altar in Vrindavan because the devotee who inherited that worship used to bring them every Kartik to Vrindavan. He left his body, so that, I don't think that goes on anymore. Anyway, so much could be said. But I'm going to read something here because the time is a little limited, obviously. So I'm going to read something here from Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada. And this is a summary appreciation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is from a transcription of a lecture given. It appears to be, although it doesn't say it on the title, because Prabhupada mentions in the lecture, on this day of Gopurnim, he says like that. So one assumes that it's on the day of Gopurnim. It doesn't say it on the title of the lecture, but it presumably is. But it is in 1969, early days of ISKCON. I'm not sure where he delivered it, maybe Seattle or somewhere. So I'm reading a part of it, not all of it, of course. Practically, Prabhupada says, this Chaitanya movement was, of course, Lord Chaitanya inaugurated this movement 500 years ago, and after that so many pseudo-Chaitanyites depreciated the whole thing. You mentioned these deviations that took place. And after that, we read, but the Chaitanya movement in its pure form, as it is, was restarted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We should take it that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the origin of the Krishna consciousness movement in its pure form. Prabhupada says this. That he is the origin of the Krishna consciousness movement in its pure form. Not in its impure form, but in its pure form. Probably referring to, obviously, our present situation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced this already, and his pure followers. But recently it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur who has renovated, restarted. It was fallen into terrible disrepute. Most people in India, if they knew anything about it whatsoever, considered it like at best, a Sahajya movement. A movement of sentimental enjoyers, not concocting their own idea of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And so many other groups, this one, that one. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the one, he fought against all of these oppositions. He had many oppositions. Prabhupada goes on. Bhaktivinoda wrote almost 100 books. We heard about his songs, but he wrote, Prabhupada says, almost 100 books. Many of those books are very famous, even to us. What books can you remember Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote?
Jivadharma.
Pardon?
Jivadharma.
Jivadharma. Prabhupada said, this book is practically the most significant of all the books he compiled, Jivadharma. And a very similar compilation was also Prabhupada also emphasizes. Chaitanya Sikshamrita. Harinam Chintamani is another famous book, of course, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's. Very famous. Anyway, I've got a quote from Pradyumna on one that Prabhupada's Sanskrit secretary was asking, should we present the Harinam Chintamani? Or teacher Prabhupada said, you haven't already, he indicated you should already have passed over that. We haven't even started it practically. But he was indicating he said you should read Jivadharma. He was emphasizing that. We don't read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books unless they're being presented by an authorized devotee. But we do read them, but you have to read Srila Prabhupada's books first and imbibe that. Not that we jump over. Prabhupada wanted this. He wanted to have all these books available. Just imagine, he was a very responsible officer. What type of officer? A magistrate. You know magistrate? Court magistrate. He was very highly respected by the British government at the time. And they were very keen to have him as their officer in various places. Most famous probably was when he was the magistrate in Puri, Jagannath Puri. He was the magistrate there, and many famous things go around that. So he was very, very expert. It's described that he would go to work at the appointed time, and he would deal with cases which normally took maybe a day to deal with. Within 5 to 10 minutes, he would have already given the decision. And he was always right in his decision. This is what amazed the British officers. They were very impressed by his ability. Sometimes he'd deal with like 30 cases in a day. Nowadays, it takes 30 days to deal with a simple case sometimes. It goes on and on and on. Do you want a chair, Maharaj?
No, okay.
Sure. But he was so expert in that role because he wouldn't tolerate any humbug. He'd hear the evidence and give the result. Bang. Like that. He was clear as a, totally clear. His mind was completely pure. So that itself is a full-time engagement for most normal beings, court magistrate. And he was a Grihastha. How many children did he have?
12.
12 is not incorrect, but 2 of them left their bodies. So he had 10 living children in Puri. His wife Bhagavati was also a pure devotee. Very powerful family. For as you know, within his family, he had a son who was exemplary. Who was that? It became known as Bhaktisiddhanta Bhima Prasad. All of his sons were exceptional, but he was the most, obviously, super exceptional. Lalit Prasad was also another famous son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur told his children that unless you assist me in my mission, that mission wasn't to be a magistrate, his actual mission was not to be a magistrate, that was incidental. But his real business was, you could say, through various means, to re-establish Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pure devotional process. And he was, again, innovative here, that he focused largely in that regard, by no means exclusively, but to a large extent on the written word. Compiling literacy, trained Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj in this field. So all of his children, he said, they had to assist him in that. And he told them, if you don't want to assist me, you can eat in someone else's house. But you can't eat in my house. If you don't help me in the publishing and proofreading and editing, whatever is required of these literatures, you can take your meals in someone else's house. You cannot eat here. That's what how strict he was, I do not know, but that was a statement which is there. He was a Grihastha, he had many children, and he had to take care of children, the office of magistrate, and he had extra religious work also. The British government actually gave him another appointment at one point of time. Do you know what that was? Besides magistrate? Huh? Yes, he was like the, what would we call it? Not exactly temple commander, but like the manager almost, He had to oversee the affairs. It wasn't that he was running around, can you wash the pots, can you clean the toilets, and whatever it is. Like temple commanders even don't do that anymore. They just wash the pots and clean the toilets. In ISKCON now, temple commander means the one who washes the pots, serves the prasadam and cleans the toilets. That's not what it's meant to be. It's meant to organize everyone else to do those things. But no, he was managing the affairs of the temple. But just as, I won't mention it later, as a matter of course, one of the things he discovered, which was one of the reasons that the British government asked him to take charge, was that they were convinced there was some kind of corruption going on within the temple, financial corruption. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he very quickly found out the source of this corruption. It went right back to the king of Orissa. The king of Orissa was actually, channeling off much of the funds for his own purposes. Instead of giving money, he was taking it. The king is supposed to supply money to the temple. He was taking it. So he quickly found this out, and he approached the king. The king was very angry, of course. And the king then he employed Brahmins to do a Bhaktivinoda Thakur killing yajna to get rid of him. He was so envious. Instead of Bhaktivinoda Thakur dying, the king's son died. So that woke him up a bit. Anyway, that was settled up. And the British government put a lot of trust in him. A lot of trust. He worked like clockwork. Now, it's interesting in the spiritual world, everything is perfectly organized. There's no spacing out in the spiritual world. Everything is absolutely according to the will of the Lord. So he showed that in practical dealings. One of his primary things, the qualities of a Vaishnava are unlimited. He was a reservoir of these qualities. And one of those, he doesn't waste any time whatsoever. None. Every second of the day was perfectly organized. Lalit Prasad, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's brother, makes an article on this, how organized he was. Not a second was wasted. Not a second. Just like, of course, all of us here, we don't waste a second of our day, I'm sure of that. Not a second. No gossip, no idle talk, no spacing out, no overeating, nothing,
2 hours lunch.
Pardon?
2 hours lunch.
Oh, maybe 3. Don't waste your time. You can do more. If you take lunch longer, it's good. You're eating prasadam. You sometimes go in the prasadam. I sometimes have seen, I remember in London at the Manor one time, the queue was so long. There was one pregnant lady and myself serving prasadam, and that was it. Nobody else would come on. I said to the Prabhu, this is going to take us nearly an hour. There's like 200 devotees in the queue to serve. If 2 or 3 of you wish to volunteer, you will be served and finished quicker by volunteering to serve than you would by standing in the line. 1 or 2 came forward. And most of them said, I've no time, I'm busy, I've got to rush off afterwards. We served the prasadam, everyone's finished prasadam, and most of those devotees said they had no time, were still sat there, gossiping. What nonsense. So he tried to cut this. No wasting of time. No time waste. We haven't got time to waste. Death can come at any moment. We haven't got time to wait. It could be in a minute, seconds time. We don't know. Our life is short. It's a reality. It's not just something we hear about. It's a reality. He didn't waste a single moment. He used to take rest about 8 o'clock at night and get up at 10. Start writing. All night long. Light his oil lamp till 4 o'clock in the morning. Start chanting japa. Then he'd read. He'd answer letters if there were any. Then he would debate. He'd walk up and down on the veranda with arguments against, Vaishnavism or whatever, and defeat them. He would speak loud and speak loudly to defeat the argument. He'd put arguments and then defeat them himself. He'd debate with himself in one sense. And he'd do a few other things. And by about 9 o'clock, he'd take a bath. He might take a 15-minute nap. And then he'd take a bath very quickly. He wouldn't take more than 5 minutes taking a bath. 5 or 10 minutes. Nowadays we have hot water. We stay in there as long as we can. Isn't it sometimes? Again, we stay in there 5, 10, 15 minutes sometimes, enjoying the hot water. Isn't it a waste of time? Waste of money as well, by the way. Waste of Krishna's energy.
No problem. Today there was no hot water.
There you go. Must have been a bit quicker.
Was good.
I didn't have any hot water down there either. Maybe it's a cold water day today. We apologize to those who need hot water. I don't know why there was no hot water, but what to say? I don't know if it's a daily affair. Is it a daily affair?
Sometimes. Monday.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to the hot water system.
Second time this week, no?
Yeah,
It's nice.
you have to discuss that at the management level. Should be hot, at least there should be, because some people need it. We're not on that level. We're in France, we're not in Puri, where the water's not cold like it is here. So he would day and then all day long, and he would come home for lunch. You'll see a little bit about that later. It's quite fascinating. We'll carry on. But he used to have a stop clock. What are these old things? A stopwatch? Clock. You put it in your pocket. Everything was down to the minute. Now it's time for this. Now it's time for that. The British were a little like that in the old days. Down to the T. Everything was on the dot. Not now. He was made superintendent of the temple. Okay, that's the right word. Superintendent. The government knew that he was a highly advanced religious person and would not tolerate any kind of misbehavior. Whenever there was some religious question, he was consulted. In spite of all of his responsibilities as officer or family man, with so many children, he executed his family life very nicely, or else he could not have produced a child such as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. At the same time, he served the Supreme Lord in so many ways. Any one of these things, managing the temple, magistrate, raising 10 kids, writing for like 6 to 8 hours a day, that would be it. That would be too much for any one of those, for any one of us, isn't it? He was doing all of them at the same time. Incredible. He served the Lord in so many ways. That is the beauty. He has written so many books, and in spite of cumbersome duties, with Prabhupada's words, that is the beauty of his life. He would come from the office in the evening, take his meals, go to bed. That was his program. He'd sleep just a few hours and then get up and write books until morning. That was his program. In this way, he wrote hundreds of books, some published, some in the course of being published. All this became possible because he was a sincere, faithful servant. To write so many books with so many responsibilities for an ordinary magistrate is not possible. Just like our Srila Prabhupada. The Queen's counsellor, who represents the Queen in Parliament, said that. He said, what your spiritual master has done is impossible for a human being. He said that. This meat-eating, drinking man, 78 years old. He read some of Prabhupada's books. He said, this is not possible for a human being to do what your spiritual master has done. Quite extraordinary. And it's not. But because he was sincere, he got the strength from the Supreme Lord. One does not need to seek strength separate from the Supreme Lord. But if you are sincere, the Supreme will give you sufficient strength. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakura brought my Guru Maharaj to this world to be his son. He brought him. He prayed to Lord Chaitanya, your preaching and teachings have been so much depreciated. It is not in my power to correct them. He prayed to Lord Chaitanya. And after his prayer, Lord Chaitanya sent my Guru Maharaj as his son, and he took up the matter very seriously. Just like Advaita prayed for the Lord to come. He prayed, and Bhaktivinoda, ray of Vishnu, appeared in this world. Now, I'm going to read something, which is, these things are a little well known, maybe, but then we're going to read something that's not so well known. In 1891, these are details now, he wrote, this you may not have heard so much, the Dharma preached by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is universal and not exclusive. The principle of Kirtan as the future church of the world invites all classes of men, without distinction or caste or clan, to the highest cultivation of the spirit. It appears that this church will spread worldwide and replace all sectarian churches, which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church, or temple. It's all universal religion. It's not a building as such, or a dogmatic, sect of some kind. But what is that universal church? Is the church of the Absolute, the church of Krishna's, you could say, or our eternal nature, our relationship with Krishna. He again, maybe a little later, he said, or wrote, penned, Lord Chaitanya did not invent himself to liberate only a few men of India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach the eternal religion. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur writing. Lord Chaitanya says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, in every town, country and village my name will be sung. There is no doubt that this unquestionable order will come to pass. Very soon, the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Already we are seeing the symptoms. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, he writes here, English, French, Russian, German, and American people will take up banners, madungas, and cartels and raise kirtan through their streets and towns. When will that day come? Oh, for the day when the fair-skinned men from their side will raise up the chanting of Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, and join with the Bengali devotees. When will that day be? On such a day they will say, my dear brothers, we have taken shelter of the ocean of Lord Chaitanya's love. Kindly embrace us. When will that day come? That day will witness the holy transcendental ecstasy of the Vaishnava Dharma to be the only Dharma, and all the sects and religions will flow like rivers into the ocean of Vaishnava Dharma. When will that day come? Vaishnava Dharma is the eternal nature of every single thing that exists. You could say every living entity, but actually everything is meant to bring pleasure to Krishna. And then he penned another amazing prediction which can be applied to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, but also most certainly to our Srila Prabhupada. A personality will soon appear to preach the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and move unrestrictedly over the whole world with his message. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, by the way, had already appeared when he penned this, so we can understand that it, and as well as moving all over the world, that this really refers to our Srila Prabhupada. It's interesting, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1896, something very profound happened in 1896. Do you remember what happened in 1896?
Prabhupada's year of birth.
That's the year of Prabhupada's birth, isn't it? 1896.
It's also the year where he sent Chaitanya letters prosect to more people.
Yes, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Prabhupada points this out. He mentions this. It's not happened by chance. Huh? There's definitely a spiritual significance, a connection. That Srila Prabhupada appeared in the same year that the first Vaishnava literature was sent overseas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was sent to the West. He sent another literature, I've forgotten the name of it. It wasn't just Lord Chaitanya's Life and Precepts. But there was another book also which he sent. And he also sent another book called Krishna Samhita. He sent that to Ralph Waldo Emerson, who wrote back saying, thank you very much for your kind gift, but I can't read Bengali. It was in Bengali. But he sent this other one in English, and later on Prabhupada noted in 1968 in Montreal when he was there, one of his disciples, I think it was Janananda, I can't remember, found this book in the McGill University in Montreal 78 years later, or whatever it is, maybe more, whatever it was. Many, many years later, he found this book and brought it to Prabhupada, was very happy. And this took place in 1896 when he sent the books. Prabhupada saw that as almost like a prediction of his future. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent some books to the West, and he talked a lot about preaching, we hear here universally, all over the world. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj sent some disciples. They didn't achieve that much, something, but not that much. But Prabhupada, our Prabhupada came himself. He came. So it's like 1, 2, 3. This is all by the, you could say, the will of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the potency there. Yes, so unrestrictedly. During a videotape conversation with Srila Prabhupada in LA, Vishnu Jan Swami remarked, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said he was leaving this world with his work unfinished. Srila Prabhupada replied, so let us finish it. We are descendants of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It was kept unfinished so that we should get the chance to finish it. He gave us the chance. That is his mercy. He could have finished immediately. He is a pure Vaishnava. He is all powerful. But he left it to us. That's what Prabhupada said. Interesting. Now there's so many things. I mean, he appeared in this world in 1838 in February on this day, of course. He wrote that out a number of years. I don't know how many, 180 years or whatever it is, 90 years or something. Quite some time ago. Just before we go on to this interesting factor here, what other events in his life were very prominent? There's so many that we haven't got time to mention many, but anything's very, very special. Generally the biography, he wrote his own biography, by the way, but besides that, his autobiography, besides that, many people, devotees, commented on his life, and they usually emphasized 2 or 3 major factors. One was the publication of literature. What would be another one?
Namahatas.
Okay, Namahata. One of his aspects of preaching, particularly when he was in Bengal, later he transferred to Bengal, and in Krishnanagar, and then I can never get that right, Janananda, Sukati, Kunj, or whatever it was. There in Godrumadweep, he established his place of service. That's the name of the actual Kunj, which he was serving in Goloka Vrindavan. He gave the same name to his residence there in Godrumadweep. And so that's, Namahata. And this is another more remarkable thing. It said that he opened up about 550 Namahatas, mostly in Bengal and Orissa, one or the other, mostly in Bengal. That's a lot, 550 Namahata centers, marketplaces. You know what a Namahata is? A place where people come together and for Krishna Katha, chanting and hearing the glories of Krishna. So he established that. One other thing that is very famous in his manifest pastimes.
The Bishik Sen story?
Pardon?
Bishik Sen.
Well, that's very famous, and that was part of his role as the magistrate in Puri, as well as his establishing the realm of pure devotion. We don't have time to tell that story. But he wouldn't tolerate any humbug. Anyone who claimed to be an avatar, he wouldn't stand still. He would uncover their nonsense. It's very, very... If we have time, we'll tell it. It's a long story. But that's... but it's part of an overall thing. Yes, Dan?
He discovered Yoga Pit.
Oh, somebody said before you... That's what you were going to say, wasn't it? Yeah, somebody spoke up without putting their hand up. Yeah, this is one of the most significant factors. It's historical, but it's very significant in terms of its ramifications, that he discovered or uncovered the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's birth. And that again is a long story. That took place in about 1891 or something. He was very prolific at that time in writing. The 80s and the 90s were when he wrote most of his books. So many books. They were coming out like every year, 1 or 2, 3 books like that. pouring out. But he discovered that. This is again a long story. When he went, eventually after looking at maps, he saw that divine, when he was in the Rani Dharmshal in Navadvip, he looked across the river Ganga, Janananda, I think it's Ganga from there. He looked across the river and he saw that divine light that it did. He was searching for where it actually was. He saw this divine light kind of rising in a place. So he looked on the maps. He saw old maps when the British first came. It was named Mayapur. So it was mentioned there. That area was called Mayapur. So various other things. He went there and he talked to local people. And many of the local people, they were also saying, yes, this is actually what we understand as the appearance. And they pointed to a mound which had tulsi on the mound, or tulsis growing on the mound. And this way and that way, he found various evidence which indicated it might be there. So eventually, of course, he'd taken initiation from Bipin Bihari Goswami, but his actual guru in terms of spiritual guidance or a siksha was Jagannath Das Babaji, whom he'd come in touch with in Vrindavan. So at this time, Jagannath Das Babaji was very senior in age. He was about 120 years of age. Now, this doesn't fit with our modern society. Someone 120 years, I don't think there's anyone on the planet of that age, according to modern, statistics. I don't know the so-called oldest person. We hear of yogis who are 700 years old, what to speak of 120 years old. But he was said to be about 120 at that time. And he was being carried by his servant, Bihari, whatever his name was, in a basket. He would carry Jagannath in a basket on his head, Jagannath Das, his servant. So he asked, Bhaktivinoda went to Jagannath, who was then in Navadvip, so he asked him if he would come to this place with him to check it out. So he came with Jagannath Das Babaji and being carried by his servant, and when they came to that spot, Jagannath Das Babaji, who was basically considered crippled, jumped out of the basket and started dancing like a madman. Hey to Nimai Janmabhumi. This is the place of Lord Chaitanya's birth. This is the place. He was dancing on the spot like anything. And that was the final confirmation. So then, of course, he established that place. In the 1890s, he established, 95, I think, established that place. And later on, the temple was built during Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj's time, which is now Yoga Pit, where we know is the place. So he established that, without a doubt. There were many people fighting against it. He had a lot of opposition, for various reasons. Anyway, that's another major contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. We'll read on. So now, having said those few little things, those were the 2 or 3 major ones mentioned. And this is from the book called The Seventh Goswami. In 1901, he published Srimad Bhagavataka Marichi Mala. Bhagavataka Marichi Mala. In this important book, the Thakura presents a study of Srimad Bhagavatam in 20 chapters, arranging his principal verses so as to illustrate the divisions of Sambandha. For those who don't know, what is Sambandha? Who knows what Sambandha is?
Relationship.
Pardon? Relationship. Means reviving, the soul's relationship with God, in this case. Abhideya, which means?
Process.
We should try to imbibe the essence of this. Sambandha is the basic knowledge to establish what is our relationship with God. Abhideya is what?
The process.
The process. Or how we can revive that. It's one thing to know our relationships, it's another thing to revive it. One thing to know what the sickness is another thing to cure it. So this is the process of cure. Curative process. Abhideya. Process of practical devotional service. And prayojana, which means the goal. What is the result of proper application of Abhideya based on Sambandha. They all have to be there. The Sanskrit verses were accompanied by Bengali prose translations and explanations by the Thakura. Now, I don't know if this book is presented in English. Does anyone know? I've not seen it. Srimad Bhagavatarka Marichi Mala. It sounds like a pretty significant book. I don't know. The Bhagavatam is compared to the sun, and each chapter is considered to be an individual ray of Bhagavat sunlight. In his concluding remarks, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes how he came to write the book as he did. He says, "How I was inspired to compile this work is a mystery which I felt improper to disclose, as it might constitute spiritual conceit. Subsequently, I realized that it would be a slight against my spiritual master, which might stand as an obstacle on the path of my spiritual progress, and therefore without a shame, I record the fact that while under the benediction of my Guru, I was meditating deeply upon the Srimad Bhagavatam one day, when in a vision, Sri Shrup Damodar, the intimate adherent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, instructed me to compile the verses of the Bhagavatam in accordance with the principles of Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana, as set forth by Sri Chaitanya, so that the book could be read with an easy understanding and with happiness by the devotees of the Lord." Interesting. I don't know if it's available. Sri Shrup Damodar further guided me by giving me a wonderful explanation of the first verse of the Bhagavatam, and he also showed me how I was to explain the verses in the light of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. This is how the pure devotees relate with each other. It's not like, oh, that was 400 years before, how can this be possible? They're on a different plane of consciousness. Shrup Damodar, don't forget, is the party, he's in Lalita Devi's party, so she's the head, basically, of his party, so she's guiding him directly here. In the same year, the Thakur published an edition of the Padma Purana, as well as Sankalpa Kalpadruma by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur with Bengali prose translations by the Thakur. Fascinating. So they're just some unknown books we don't hear about very much, but he published so many books. It was so important to make this available to the public. Very innovative, revolutionary, never been done before. And there was many ways of seeing how this mission could be spread all over the world. Now we're going to read something. Yes, this is one of his compilations. It's a song, but we're just going to read the English. Again, a song which you probably never heard. It's particularly the path established by Rupa Goswami. That's basically the essence of this presentation. To reveal to the world the path established by Rupa Goswami. So this is a translation. It's what they call affirmation or something. When you make I'm going to do this, this and this, you fix on it. Birth after birth, he says, let me be attached to the following. Come what may. 1. To my spiritual master. 2. To Lord Gauranga. 3. To the topics of pure devotional service as instructed by him. 4. To the holy places of pilgrimage which are all blooming with sanctity due to his performance of pastimes there. 5. To my Diksha mantra. 6. To the holy name of Sri Hari. 7. To the beloved associates of the Lord. 8. To the holy days associated with Lord Hari. 9. To those persons who follow in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. And 10. To the scriptures enunciated by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. And the second stanza. Within the forest of Vrinda, which is gloriously rich in the treasure of Madhurya Ras, Sri Krishna, the personification of spiritual mellows, gives transcendental bliss to Sri Radhika. who is the topmost manifestation of his divine potencies, and the personified form of the supreme mellow of love in separation. This same Lord Krishna is identical to the son of Mother Sachi, who resides in Gaudadesh, Bengal, and teaches the process for rendering his own devotional service. May the Sachinandan be my supreme master, birth after birth. Let not renunciation be fit for my acceptance if it does not give rise to loving devotion, and let not knowledge appeal to me at all if it does not admit to the individuality of the Lord and the Jivas. I have no desire at all to practice the eightfold yoga process. None of these are productive of the happiness of serving Lord Hari, such as his confidential worship is. Therefore let such abundant confidential service to Shri Radha Krishna be mine. May I always dwell in a humble cottage at the root of a desire tree in the holy abode of Sri Sachi Suna, and there perform devotional service as is practiced in Braj. Let me never dwell in any other place, even if it be fit for the happy residence of the most enlightened persons, nor even in a palace furnished with all the rich trappings of sovereignty. I have no attachment at all for the caste divisions of society, and I certainly do not identify with any of the social orders of life. I have not the least fondness for religion or for sinful life in this world. Instead, I desire to perform whatever duties are required for the maintenance of my body, of dull matter, so long as they facilitate my performance of pure devotional service. Don't forget, these are all his realizations, presentations of the path established by Rupa Goswami. My austere vow is devotion to the lotus feet of Sri Hari. Thus I have chosen to cultivate the following in myself: great humility, simplicity, tolerance in all circumstances, respect for others, and compassion. Those transcendental activities alone are mine, which are recommended by devotees of the lotus feet of the Lord, and which are found described in books that are full of the imperishable character and pastimes of Sri Chaitanya. I have no longing for residence in the kingdom of Vaikuntha, nor for sense gratification or material work. I will never cherish the desire for attaining impersonal liberation, even for a second. There are, moreover, pastimes of Sri Hari that are purifying for the conditioned souls, yet they are different from the bliss experienced in Braj, and being devoid of any relationship with Sri Radhika, they give me no happiness at all. I disown wife, daughters, sons, mother, and all my friends if they have no genuine attachment to Lord Sri Hari, for his devotees or for his devotional service. It is a great blunder even to accept foodstuffs prepared by such non-devotional, materialistic sense gratifiers. How will the perfection of my Hari Bhajan ever come about if I remain in their association? Some persons have utterly rejected the evil company of those who are blinded by mundane logic, those who are addicted to the fleeting pleasures of the dull material body, those who turn their faces against Lord Sri Krishna, and those who are fond of the inferior concept of impersonal liberation. However, being swollen with excessive pride, they worship Krishna, but without Radharani being present. Therefore I vow that I will never go near such as these, not even for a second. Even those who worship Krishna without Radha, he won't go near them. I shall pass my life eating only prasadam, food, grains, and milk products. Prasadam, food, grains, and milk products. And basically that's what he ate. It's described how he would take all 3 meals of the day were basically chapatis and milk. Little fruit. That was his main diet. But chapatis and milk. Grains and milk. This is the diet of Bhaktivinoda. wearing only cloth that was offered to the deity. Interesting. And using only utensils sanctified by the Lord's service. I would thus remain aloof from material sense gratification, living in a place sacred to Radha, worshipping the divine couple with a blissful mind. I will in time give up my body at the soles of the devotees' lotus feet, who are themselves serving the lotus feet of the divine couple. Daily I will take the nectar that has washed the feet of one who is expert at grasping the instructions of the son of Sachi, and who incessantly adores the most worshipable personality and the enjoyer of mellows with Krishna, Srimati Radharani, within the forest of Braj. I will carry it on my head with a restrained mind, and drinking it with great bliss, I will then offer my prostrations unto him. My constitutional tendency is one of servitude to Lord Hari, and will be a long time yet to come. Due to the deluding power of Mahamaya, however, I have fallen into the ocean of misery. I will rise above this world of suffering by daily following my self-imposed regulations with determination. May my only guide be the mercy of the Vaishnava, which destroys illusion. This Svaniyama Vadasarkam, which is the name of this compilation, was written by someone. Now, when he says someone, this is typical of how a devotee writes. They don't accredit it to themselves. They say someone, that someone happens to be himself, but then he says someone, about his personal mode of performing bhajan. Whosoever studies this stava with resolute faith, offering his mind unto the beautiful forms of the divine couple, assuredly attains his residence in Sri Brajadham, and following behind his own Manjari Guru, he renders all kinds of service for the worship of Shri Shri, Radha and Krishna. Now that sounds very high, but we can take the same principle. We have also got error. In this case, he's saying here how he's self-imposed regulations in his case with determination. We have received regulations, and we should try to follow them with determination. Even that is difficult for many. Following 4 regulated principles, chanting minimum 16 rounds, rising early in the morning, only taking food offered to Krishna. So many things, I was just mentioning a few there. Even that's difficult for many initiated devotees, isn't it? But this is how we can actually progress towards this level. This is our abhideya at this stage. So we should take that as an example. The life of Bhaktivinoda Thakura is an exemplary example for the sake of all of us. He even went through, as a young man, the various, you could say, stages that many people go through. He was brought up in a very materialistic family. They were Shakta worshippers. He was attracted to Mayavad philosophy. He practiced the tenets of Jesus Christ for some time, and he was studying all the philosophies and religions of the world. He had no interest in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for quite much of his life, until he came across Chaitanya's teachings in a pure form of Chaitanya Charitamrita. But he's showing us by example. He's an eternal associate of the Lord, but they also play parts in order to help us to tread the path towards pure devotion. We're all coming from various mixed backgrounds. May still be a bit mixed. So he's teaching us that path of pure devotion and showing us how we can come from one stage to another. And so on. Through his songs he does the same thing. Very important to hear and those songs of Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We touched a little bit about history, but not very much. There's no time to go into that. So the next program?
We'll meet at midday, 12:30.
Not till 12:30.
We'll have
I'll
some.
to get to Paris.
We can do before.
Do what before? The Bhoga offering won't be ready. Bhaja Bhakata Vatsala Shri Guru Hari. If we leave later, Janananda, would that be a little possible? What do you think? If we leave it a little bit later?
Yes, Maharaj.
It's okay, won't be too much of a problem. So maybe we'll stay, we'll see how we do this morning. So technically, or not technically, as it stands right now, there will be, what happens at 12:30?
We can have simultaneous arti,
Simultaneous arti.
deities and Bhaktivinoda.
Bhaktivinoda.
And then right after that we do Pushpanjali.
Then we do Pushpanjali and then
Prashadam.
feast. Rice dal and salad, is it?
Therefore promised yesterday to cook feast.
Did he?
He told me.
There you go. There we go. We receive it from the top.
Yeah, I think we should stay.
Okay. Otherwise we'll be fasting till this evening. Okay. So
And then Maharaj is going to give evening classes.
evening class by Janananda Maharaj this evening.
Yeah.
And tomorrow morning class by Maharaj. Then he's going on Harinam tomorrow. Then he'll give Sunday morning class. And any other classes he wants to give before he departs or withdraws his association from us. You're going to Georgia next or Italy? Italy. Italy then Georgia. Thank Maharaj for coming. Surprised. I completely forgot. I mean, months ago you may have written me or somebody wrote me, but I completely forgot. I just found out at the last moment you're coming. Hare Krishna. So have a great day. Don't forget Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Some of the few things we've heard today may be useful to us to apply. And Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribo. Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakura Vibha Maha Mahotsava Ki Jai. Goda Premanandi.
Haribo.